You know, but see, this the thing. I know how, so-called black people who like to categorize things as pseudo. You can look up this guy's name right here, but it's only pseudo if it's coming from me. But if it's coming from somebody who is Paul Hellyer, who's a former National Defense Minister of Canada. So if it's coming from him, it's real because he has a title. It's real. But if it's coming from me, it's pseudo, right? You got to be able to understand what's taking place at hand. There's a war on wokeism, so-called wokeism. There's a war on black intellectualism. So I'm gonna play this video for a second.
Conviction based on what I already knew. I said I'll go to the meeting, and at the meeting I said that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead, and that was it.
And it's been reported in a couple of interviews that you've mentioned there's a federation of alien species. Do all of the alien species kind of work together, or is there warring species that war with each other?
Well, I only know about the Galactic Federation, and I don't know much about it, so I shouldn't talk about it. But they are concerned about what's going on in the world, and they have been working through individuals. They'll pick out a few individuals and visit them, or talk to them telepathically, or send information to them by channeling. I have a very close friend who was writing his second book right now with channeling from a species called the Pesetas. Very few people have heard of it. They have a deal that they won't interfere. But I think that there's also a loophole if things get bad enough that they would make exceptions. But we can't count on them. I mean, maybe we can count on them, but we shouldn't count on them because they say, you clean up your act. You're in charge. It's your planet. And if it comes to a dead end, it will be because you let it or made it a dead end. Because it wasn't necessary and you had everything going. It's one of the best planets in the whole universe. And everybody covets the fact that it's so good. And you have been destroying it. And this is something that we've tried to let you know by various ways over a long period. The individual communications always say, look, there are things you've got to do. Stop your clear cutting, stop your fracking, stop using fossil fuels, because there are better ways. Conviction based on what I already knew. I said,
with that being said, we're going to get back to the presentation at hand. Get back to the slides. Put the rice bowls in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Great Awakening period. And we out here cooking up the Illuminati. We're cooking them up. We're cooking them up because we in a process of reset. So since we're in reset, everything is being manipulated. The atmosphere, like I said, is being manipulated to where they can no longer hold form, right? Whether you could say they draconian reptilian or whatever the case may be, hybrids or whatever, but you cannot negate that something weird is taking place on the planet because, like I said, atmospheric changes has the ability to interface with our biological functions. Same thing that took place with Queen Elizabeth's hand, right? Not a coincidence. Now look at Donald Trump's hand. Not a coincidence. The manipulation of the atmosphere. Then you got birds keep exploding in the Bay Area, the same place where the air was manipulated, where they had Lake Tahoe, where you had that pestilence going on over there. And so this is also in the same geographical area. So birds keep exploding in the Bay Area. Nobody knows why. Because the atmospheric changing in itself has a certain cymatic vibration. So if you're not connected to the mycelium network of nature, and you're not able to harmonize with the circadian rhythm with the Kabbalament, that's able to synthesize the melanin in the gut and resurrect the Christ body. If you don't have the ability to do that, what's going to happen is, like I said, you're going to go through a process of zombification, or your sixth ether is going to dissipate into nothingness, right? Meaning that you don't have the ability to resurrect yourself. Everything as far as like the Great Awakening period, the last thing that's going to be on the table is all about the energy of the sun and genetic self-preservation. That's what it's all about. That's what racism is all about. Genetic self-preservation, atmospheric changes, climate change, right? The energy of the sun. So like I said, as above, so below, the law of correspondence. So if the atmosphere is being manipulated, how you know? That's how you know that the waters is being manipulated. A rare orange shark with ghostly white eyes captured in the first of its kind sighting. So like I said, and then you just had an earthquake at the Drake Passage, had a 7.2 earthquake, a magnitude of it, and that's over there by the Arctic Peninsula. And Drake, not a coincidence that he's putting out an album called Iceman. The Drake Passage is at the Arctic Peninsula, and Drake is putting out an album called Iceman. So how you know that the liquidation process is not going to create, a form of cryogenic weather in New York City over the course of time? Just a coincidence? I don't know, but who knows? That's just a thought that I had. So like I said, atmospheric changes, like I said, because the consciousness is starting to raise up. Human consciousness has the ability to manipulate physical matter to where it's able to activate earthquakes. 10 earthquakes